Hey there, everybody. New studio, new intro. I'm just here to remind you guys before you listen to today's episode, make sure you follow the show and subscribe wherever you listen. If you watch the show on YouTube, make sure you subscribe there, you comment, you like, and you share. Also, follow my social media, all of it, both Instagrams, my Twitter, follow it all. Your life is to be consumed by my life. Tell everybody that you know about me. Start conversations with the fact that the Smoking Simian is your favorite podcast. Bombard everyone that you know and love with the Smoking Simian. Send them links day in and day out of my show, of the episodes, of my posts. Get thrown out of your house because the only thing that you care about is the Smoking Simian. Do it. Enjoy today's episode. Bye-bye. Hello, everybody, and good motherfucking morning. It is Thursday, the second week of August. What a time to die in a heat stroke. It is a beautiful time in the world where if you don't get a disease that has been deemed a public health crisis, if you don't get murdered in a school or a grocery store, you can die in the heat. People are so... They look past all the unique options that we have as a generation to leave this planet, right? Before, it was all just... It was mostly the routine, you know. You could always get killed in a public place, right? Especially in America. You could always get killed in a public place. But the diseases were always the same. The heat waves were, short-lived. They weren't anything, crazy. We always had money, so you couldn't starve to death. It was harder to starve to death, right? Now, you starve to death. Or the money problems that everyone's having drives them to take their own lives. As well as what happened during the pandemic. Everyone was stuck in the house, and that was a reason for them to take their own lives. Now, I guess there's this time is a very vibrant time to lose your life, essentially, right? There's tons of ways to do it. And August has been very hot. It's been very hot all over the place. I spoke about it a few episodes ago where there's wildfires in Europe and all these things. But here's the thing, guys. In Europe, they don't even use air conditioning. You get that? They don't even use air conditioning. So they're kind of asking for it, right? There's this piece of technology that we as humans have made that you can stick in your window and it takes the hot air and converts it into cool air for your home. And they blatantly said, we don't really need it. We don't need it. We have American hotels and some of our tourist spots, and they'll have air conditioning, but we don't need it. Well, here's a rude awakening for you. All your old people are going to die in their homes because they don't have air conditioning. They can't regulate their body temperature, guys. And I know some of you are saying, well, Antonio, that's just a Band-Aid on the real problem. Well, the real problem has yet to be accepted by the entire world, right? The only way a problem like ruining the environment will ever gain any headway is if the entire world agrees and says, yes, we're fucking everything up. Because otherwise, even if you got 1 billion people to change the way that they acted, I'm not sure that that'll change things. I'm not sure. I think as far as the environment goes, right, we're pretty far gone on this. Now, America has, United States just passed a bill where I think it's, I don't want to say the wrong number, but it's very, very high. Billions and billions. I want to say hundreds of billions of dollars have been donated or dedicated or allocated, or whatever the fucking word is, to fixing the climate. And I don't know what that entails. I don't know what they're going to do that hasn't already been done. And realistically, all I want to know is what is going to happen when the ground is untouchable, when our Nike sneakers melt into the ground. That's what I want to know. But that might not even happen, guys. That might not happen. There are so many ways that we can speculate on how the world will end. But that doesn't matter, guys. I had a great show on Saturday. I was very fortunate that I had friends come out. We did the Industry Room at Broadway Comedy Club. A ton of fun. My God. Going to New York in general for me is literally giving myself carte blanche to spend money that I don't have and act like a degenerate. I was able to get 5 of us to go, which I'm very thankful for. Thank you to the people who came. Tyler was one of them. That's why he was on the episode on Monday. So thank you, Tyler, for giving me a guest. I know some of y'all missed the guests. I do and I don't. You know, I mean, when I was doing the guests, I was getting a lot of interesting people, and it was a lot of fun. Now I don't really know anybody. I don't care to reach out. You know, I can't care to reach out, guys. I mean, other comics, sure. I'd love to have other comedians. I mean, I had Mo Green on here. I'd love to have other comedians that I've met. But in general, but here's the thing, is I live far away from all of them. None of them want to come out to New London. Even if I didn't live far from them, even if they lived like a few towns over, they'd still be like, hey, go fuck yourself. I'm not going to New London. Because they know how bad this place is. Nobody told me how bad this place was. The guy who rented this place out to me said, well, there's a lot going on in New London. There's a lot going on. And my mind was all fucked up because I didn't know what the fuck was, where I was going to go and what was going to happen. So I ended up here. And then now I tell everybody, hey, I live in New London. They're like, oh, God, really? Why? Why did when Tyler came here, he was telling me a story about how he told all his buddies at work that he was going to meet me in New London. And he said that they said to him, they're like, hey, you ever been there? And he's like, no. And they were like, eesh, watch out. And they're right. I wish I had somebody to tell me that New London was not the place. But it doesn't matter because I'm here now. But yeah, guys, the guests, I don't want to do the Zoom. I like speaking to professors. I do. I actually do like speaking to professors, but I don't know. I don't care to reach out. I don't like this setup for having a conversation with somebody else. I like being able to just, what's the word? I guess dictate. Just speak. I want to have the spoken word at my disposal here. I want to come on here and tell you guys about what the fuck is happening. I want to give you guys some insight. This is like a news station. This has become a pseudo-news outlet. That's kind of what it's become at this point. I find news articles that I can make fun of, and we go ahead and we put that together. I'd like to do skits. Skits are like a big thing. Any comedian that I've met that has, 30,000 followers on Instagram, they have skits. They put up skits. They put up funny fucking... And I used to have a couple of them. But I got to think. One day I'm going to... Every time I'm on here and I drink coffee, I just get the hiccups. It's weird. But I do. I want to have some more of that shit. Because it's all a part of being funny, guys. It's all a part of making this shit happen. This show has turned into... basically just it's turned into what I said, but it's morphed. It's very much so morphed, because when I first started the show, it was about positivity and being I don't know. It was about being funny as well, but it was more about just talking about whatever, right? And then it started to morph into a real guest show, and then now the guests started to dictate where the show went. Now, if I had a group of my friends on, we'd get hammered, we'd tell funny jokes, it'd be funny. And then if I had a comedian guest, then it would be funny. But then I'd have guests who were fighters, and I'd have guests who were, whatever else. And they did whatever they did in their field, and I wanted to hear about it, and I wanted to communicate it to you guys. And that was when it was about me that's when the bio of the show said something like, oh, I'm a cynic. I want to give you guys insights into the lives of people you never otherwise would have met. And then I stopped caring about that shit. Now I'm here as the culmination of my life's experiences that has brought me to the guy that loves to be maniacal on here and scream and yell about the things that are happening and satirize things because it's funny. Now that I'm a comic, my comedy is basically what I do on this podcast, just in a long form. Like, this is a lot longer form. It's a lot more ranting. I don't do this on stage. I haven't done this on stage yet because I feel like it wouldn't be as funny. I don't have immediate critiques coming back on me when I do it on here. The audience is somewhere else. If I go on stage and I start screaming about Disney and Walmart and whatever else, then, I don't know, off the cuff, it might not be as good. But it's okay, because my sole purpose now is to be a funny son of a bitch on every platform. Every platform. I don't care to be inspiring or any of that stuff. I don't do the goals anymore. I don't even do goals for myself anymore. I don't. I have one goal, and that's to be the funniest motherfucker walking. That's it. If I can get people to acknowledge that I am a funny son of a bitch, then I'm good. I'm happy with that, guys, at this point. Speaking of all that, do you guys like iCarly? You guys remember watching iCarly? Maybe you still watch iCarly. It did do a reboot. Maybe some of you have children, or you got younger siblings, or nieces and nephews, cousins, whatever. You try to entertain them. You watch iCarly with them. Because iCarly is one of those. It's a timeless Nick-com. Nick-coms are their own genre. There's sitcoms, and then there's Nick-coms. Because Nickelodeon was one of the first stations to start implementing the child sitcom. The sitcom where most of the cast is children. There's parents sometimes, but the show is dedicated for young people to watch. It lets children lust over the fantasy of being someone famous. Seeing a person that's also your age, that's funny and they're famous and they're on TV, and then when you get older and you're the same age as Miranda Cosgrove or someone else she didn't really go off the rails. Who went off the rails? Like Amanda Bynes, right? Now she's like 10 years older than I am or something. But I remember being a kid and watching her, thinking she was hot and thinking that, wow, look at her. That must be the life, right? Or watching Drake and Josh, and they were teenagers, and I was in elementary school or middle school or something. And I would watch that shit, and I'd be like, man, that's the life. I wish I was famous, right? I wish I was that. I wish I got noticed, which is probably why I do this and why I do comedy. But, and then you see what they turn into. You see what being a famous child does to their development. I mean, there's been very few famous young people that made it out okay. Like, more or less unscathed, right? I mean, there's Miranda Cosgrove is one. I mean, she just went viral for saying fuck, okay? She just went viral for saying for swearing on a show, and then now that got remixed into a TikTok song where people dance to, right? Like, it's just that sentence that I just said is indicative of modern media, right? A child star, one who didn't go off the rails, swore, said a bad word, and then that excerpt got put into got dubbed over a beat, and then now people are dancing to it on TikTok. That's modern media, guys. That's modern day artistry. You guys don't understand. But I do. I understand, and some of you guys do understand. And but she's one who there was very little scandal. I don't think there was any scandals about Miranda Cosgrove. I don't think there were any. But then you got, all the other ones, all the countless ones. Miley Cyrus, who was Hannah Montana. She was the Southern Belle. The Southern Belle who lived two different lives. Isn't that fucked up? You're a child actress and you got to play as a bipolar person who's famous. You gotta hide her. Like, I don't know. That's pretty indicative of her own life, right? In general, as a child. But then after that show, she went a little off the rails. She was in her early 20s when she was probably finished that show, right? As famous as a motherfucker. And all people ever knew her was, or all people ever knew her for, was Hannah Montana. And that's what happens with these child actors. They get to a certain age and they're like, I don't want to be known as the fucking... The brother on that show was a grown man. Did you guys know that? The brother on Hannah Montana, the whole time he was like 40 years old, but he looks like a child, right? Do you think what's that guy doing now? You don't think that he just eats Prozacs all day and wonders where he went wrong while he cashes his residuals for Hannah Montana? You know, like but another one, Demi Lovato. She was a Disney girl. Disney girl, finished with that. Time to start shooting heroin. And then so many years later, she becomes a non-binary person, and she switches from they, them to she, her, and, you know, she's very fluid and all these things, and now she's her own person. Because what happens is when these kids are groomed in Hollywood, they don't really get a sense of they don't get to learn who they are, right? By the time I was 7 years old, by the time most of us are 7 years old, we kind of have a personality. Some of our personality shines through. But what happens is with these children is if they start you around 7 years old, that shit gets pushed the fuck down. The reason why they even put you in that shit at a young age is because they see that you have some kind of a personality. You have a quality that you could bring to a commercial or to the silver screen or to the TV screen or whatever the fuck. And then that personality that you spent 7 years kind of molding, and God forbid you were born into a family that was already famous, where they start you even earlier, right? They start you even earlier. You're a baby on a Huggies commercial. Then, I mean, forget it, right? But all that time, those 7 years they're null and void because you are now a cast member of the Wizards of Waverly Place. You're the little sister, and you're going to be there and the show blows up, and now it's on for 5 years, and now you're 12. Now you're 12 years old, and you might get another deal because you're still a kid, right? It's still a lot of fun. Maybe you're on another show for another 5 years, and then now you're 17. You're 17, and all you've ever done was read scripts and go to meetings and all these things that a child probably shouldn't be exposed to because they'll never really develop their own personality. So now you're 17 years old, you're 18 years old, and you're kind of at the end of the rope with Disney and Nickelodeon. You could still do it, but, you know, now you're starting to have those feelings within yourself, right? You're starting to have those feelings, and then that's when the child goes off the rails, and either they go off and do something artistic on their own, which happens, right? Miley Cyrus, she had a whole nother arc in her career, right? And now she's the badass bitch who's a great performer, and people know her for controversy, and it's funny that she was on Hannah Montana, like when she's in the car and she's singing The Best of Both Worlds, and she's like, yeah, like when you take Molly and you smoke a joint. Like, that's funny. That's hilarious. Everyone likes Miley Cyrus. And most people like Miley Cyrus now. Or you end up like Macaulay Culkin, who just goes off the rails, does drugs, comes back later at like, you know, late 30s. He looks like shit, and now he's a meme, right? You could do that. Or you just fade off into obscurity and nobody ever knows you. Like, remember that show, Derek? Or what was it? Living Life with Derek? People don't remember that show because it was fucking stupid. Nobody cared about it. It was on at not a prime time slot. It was like Saturday nights at 11 o'clock you could watch it. Nobody wanted to watch that shit. Nobody was watching that shit. Now, where did they go? I think Demi Lovato might have been in that show. I don't know. Let's see. Life. I think it was called Life with Derek because this show is terrible. Or Phil of the Future. Where did that guy go? Life with Derek. That's what it's called. Who were the actors? Michael Cedar. So he was the main character, and nobody knows who that guy is, right? Michael Cedar. What has he done? Michael Cedar is a Canadian actor, director, screenwriter, producer from 2005 2009. He starred as the titular role I can't, sorry guys, I can't read. In the Canadian sitcom Life with, so it was Canadian. Gotcha. So that's why it wasn't that big. So this person does nothing, okay? He does nothing. 2005, 2009, Life with Derek. 2010, Vacation with Derek. 2010 to 2011, 18 to Life. 2020, The Wedding Planners. Like, these are all just the Zach Files, Sadie's Last Days on Earth. Like, what the fuck? This guy did nothing. This guy went on to do nothing at all, and that's where he's going to stay. That's where he's going to stay. He didn't have his psycho arc. The only child stars that make it are the ones who have their psycho arc. They got to have a psycho arc. You know, even Josh Peck. Everyone loves Josh Peck now. I mean, they loved him before, but after the show, he even said it. He did drugs and did the whole thing, and now he's a lovable guy that everybody wants to hear about. That's what it is, guys. If you're a child star, you got, like, Miranda Cosgrove, I was talking about her. She was a good one. She did nothing wrong, right? But nobody cares about her. The only thing people care about is the TikTok. I know they rebooted iCarly, and maybe kids watch it. Maybe. I don't know if kids are watching the new iCarly. That's more of a thing for the adults to indulge in. It's more of a like a Full House reboot, right? There's not going to be kids watching it unless their parents force them. This is a reboot of the show we used to like. You know, those reboots are for the people who watched it the first time. But the reason why I'm bringing all this up and why I'm asking you guys if you enjoyed iCarly is because I always liked Sam. I always liked Sam because I thought she was hotter. I think she's still hotter than Miranda Cosgrove. And yes, let me just clarify, me as a 14-year-old thought that, 15 or 16-year-old Jeanette McCurdy was hotter than 15 or 6-year-old Miranda Cosgrove. And now that they're both adults, I still think, I'm just trying to clarify that up. But listen, Jeanette McCurdy had her own, Sam from iCarly. That was Jeanette, the blonde girl. I always thought she was hotter. Her character was a little more wild, right, which is what I like in everyday life. And she had a little bit of a scandal. She spent a little bit more time on Nickelodeon. She ended up doing the show with Ariana Grande, right? And they went ahead and they did that for a little bit longer until I'm sure Ariana couldn't do that anymore. And she started talking about, keeping her pussy squeaky and drinking water. And I've been eating healthy. You know what I'm saying? Like, new hair, just bought it. Like, that, she can't be doing those things, dating Mac Miller and dating Pete Davidson. She can't be doing that while she's on Nickelodeon, Sam and Cat. But Jeanette McCurdy also, she had a tiny scandal. I don't know if you guys remember, but she sent out some nudes, right? Some nudes got leaked. They were good. Some nudes got leaked. And I'm pretty sure she was of age, or else it would have been harder to find on the internet. I'm sure you could still find them. But they were good, right? They were nice. I thought she looked great. And she recently she just wrote a memoir. She wrote a memoir. Now, how big of an iCarly Nickelodeon stan do you have to be to buy the memoir of the co-star of one of the biggest Nickelodeon? I mean, the show was huge, right? Everyone in my generation and shortly after know about iCarly. Like, my brother is 7 years younger than me, and we used to watch iCarly together. Like, we would turn it on and, whatever. But she just wrote a memoir with a beautiful title, one that I hope doesn't go over people's heads. And I want to see where this goes, because she really didn't hit that psycho arc, guys. She did not hit the psycho arc that all teen stars are supposed to hit. This could be it, guys. The title of her memoir, one that I hope to pick up, is called I'm Glad My Mom Died. This is real. This is a real thing, guys. I'm glad my mom died. And in the centerfold, she has a picture of her posing naked with her dead mother at the wake. She lays there, butt naked. She sits her pussy right on her dead mom's open mouth because she made the funeral arrangements, and she sat there and rubbed her clit on her mom's dead nose. I'm kidding about that part, but no, she really did make a memoir. She wrote a memoir titled "I'm Glad That My Mom Died," and the reason why her reasoning behind the title is, and there's an interview. So if you don't believe me, you can look it up. There's an interview of her saying that it's people who are victims of parental abuse and people who understand, people who have humor. That's what she said, more or less, right? I'm paraphrasing. But the title is for people who understand parental abuse and people who understand humor, people who have a sense of humor. Now, those two things aren't mutually exclusive all the time, right? I mean, I know a lot of comedians. I've spent time with a bunch of them. I'm a student of the game. I know that some of the best comedians are proponents, are products, I should say, of parental abuse, right? I mean, Richard Pryor was brought up in a brothel. That's a pretty fair example of parental abuse. And he just went on stage and revolutionized an entire art, right? He went on stage and completely changed up the way that stand-up comedy can be done and can be perceived, and how honest you can actually be as a stand-up comedian. He was the one who went out and did that. Now, the way that people cope, the way that stars cope with parental abuse, with the trauma that they experience as a child, they go ahead and write books that are blatantly and flagrantly praising the death of the person that burdened them with this life. You know, the life of getting free things and you know, but now I'm being facetious here. It's obviously, I just went on about how terrible it is to be a child star. How terrible it is and how hard it is to maintain your fame when you get it so easily and so early. Think about how hard it is. You think about a guy like Tom Brady, right? And he has just been consistent for over 20 years, right? Now, that's not easy. If you get pushed into the league and your first time as a starter, you win a Super Bowl, usually what happens after that, you fall out, right? What happened to Nick Foles, right? That wasn't his first time as a starter, but it was his first time starting, with the Eagles and the whole deal. But you get what I'm saying. What's fast don't last. It's harder to keep something that you got very easily. Right now, there's some people who take great advantage of their opportunity. They're able to capitalize on it. A guy like 50 Cent or a guy like Tom Brady, right? He was able to capitalize, and he didn't. These guys, they're able to keep going. But to be a child star, there's no boxes that you got to check off that say resilient, hardworking, desire to maintain consistency. Those boxes aren't necessarily there to be checked, right? Maybe as time goes on, you could grow, but a lot of these child actors, I mean, they're groomed from an early age to be just that, child actors. There's not really anything on the other side of that. Right, you can dance next to Big Bird on Sesame Street for a few seasons. We get some money as a family, and then if nothing else happens after that, too bad. Sorry, right? Just keep on. There's not really. I mean, but it's just like anything else. It's just like anything else. If you put your kid in baseball and they run with it, then that spark would have never got them. That initial spark, if it didn't happen, they never would have got to the MLB, right? It never would have happened. So I get it. It's just like anything else. You start your kid off in something. However, if you start your kid off in t-ball or flag football, they're a little less likely to develop a massive drug habit once that phase of their life is over, right? Because it's not like they may have had some great moments. and they'll have made some lifelong friends, which is great. That's what kids are supposed to be doing. But if you're, if you're basically in a superficial, made up environment all the time, such as a sitcom set, where people put a value system. There's a value system in place on whether or not you're good enough to even be there. Once that and then while you're doing it, people treat you as a god. People treat you as, wow, that's the kid on iCarly. That's the kid on this show. On that kid's on Disney Channel. And then that goes away. You were just given all this attention as a child. You thought that shit was going to last forever. When you're a kid, you think shit lasts forever. Then there's a rude awakening as an adult that shit kind of goes away. Some things go away. And there's the argument that the people that can maintain childlike, like I spoke about on my Stranger Things episode, if they can maintain that childlike wonder, then there's a possibility to gain success in this world. Right? There's the possibility to gain great success if you still believe that anything's possible and all this stuff, yada, yada, yada. But the bigger school of thought is to grow up and stop being a fucking fool. And that's what this girl did. Jeanette, Miss McCurdy, has a memoir, one that I hope to get a free copy of for plugging on here. I'm Glad My Mom Died. And that title doesn't get any better. I mean, it doesn't get any better because her mom was probably the person that got her into being a child actor and doing all this stuff and becoming a pawn in the great media machine. Because what has she done since child acting? I don't know. I haven't seen her in a movie. I haven't seen her in an adult show. And maybe there is. Let's see. We did the Derek guy. Let's see what she's been up to. Jeanette McCurdy. What's she been up to? IMDb. iCarly, Sam and Cat, I Party with Victorious, Zoe 101, what is this? Best Player, Little Bitches. Okay, never saw that one. That seems like an adult one. Between, so she's been in a lot of stuff. Swindle. So most of her shit is kid stuff, right? It looks like Little Bitches might be something that's a little, but even then, it's like children, right? 2018. See, they're freshmen, 3 high school students. So it's all child stuff, B-list movies. She hasn't really gone to do anything, right? And she's 30 years old now. So 2018 was 4 years ago. So she was playing a high schooler at 26, guys. That's a slippery, dangerous slope, is it not? Could you guys imagine working in the same place that you did when you were? Could you bring yourself back to your first job, right? Maybe you were a bagger at a Stop and Shop, or you were a busser in a restaurant. You know, maybe you worked at an ice cream parlor and you scooped ice cream. I don't know, something that sounds like an early job. And imagine you had to keep doing that to survive. You had to keep doing it. Imagine that. That's not, now you're 30 and you're scooping ice cream next to kids who are 15. Your coworkers are half your age. That's not, and this is worse. Like, she's pretending to be a freshman in high school. And if her mom is the one that put her into all that, I would understand the title of her memoir. You don't even need to be a victim of parental abuse, and you don't even need to be a person who understands humor. Even if I am both of those things, even if I understand both of those things, even if I didn't, I would understand if that's where she has been led. If this is where she's been led as a 26-year-old woman, she's playing children in high school, freshmen. Not even seniors, freshmen in high school, then, I mean, I'm glad my mom died as well. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. I would be glad that my mother is dead too. And maybe now she's gonna Maybe now she's hitting her psycho arc. It's a little later in life. She's 30 now. Maybe now she can go a little off the rails and get some real roles in some real fucking TV shows. Maybe. I don't know. Now, this will be a perfect segue into an article that I read with a very, very interesting title. An interesting title, one that I think about. The title, that is. I think about how rough it is in this current day and age, this current climate of the world, how hard it would be to raise a child. I'm always on here and I talk about how terrible things are and all this stuff. And everyone knows that it's a tough time for the world, and you know, there's a possibility of the greatest financial market in the world could collapse. You know, there's the possibility of war, great war, nuclear annihilation, all this stuff. Everyone is on edge. The environment, we just spoke about it, record numbers. Crime and violence just is rampant. You can't go places without the threat of being murdered by a psycho. Like, it's a tough time. We all know it. Diseases, massive diseases, public health concerns, too many people, overpopulation, underpopulation. Men can't, young people aren't having as much sex because everyone's worried. Men are less fertile. Women are less fertile. Like, it's just, people are very nervous. People are nervous right now. They're very nervous. They're scared, but they're still having children. Less children, but they're still having children, guys, which is very nerve-wracking to me. I'm 25. I understand that there's no real clock on having children. You can have a child whenever the fuck you want, right? My dad had my brother. My mom was 42. My dad was, 46 or something? So I know that my genes are good enough to have a kid later on in life if I want to. But what's most nerve-wracking to me is having a kid now. Like, I have my buddy Chris Sandberg, who's been on the show, and his kid's already 1 year old. And, good for them, and they're doing a great job. Very, very good job. Shout out to them. Him and his lady, Julia, and their families, and they're helping each other out. But if I were to have a kid, not only would I be worried about me not being a good dad in general, but I am worried about the condition of the world. No? Like, I already think that we have max 40 years left. Right? Max 40 years left. That puts me at around 65 years old. Okay? I don't care to go too much further past that as I sit here, right? I don't really care. One of my favorite lines ever is, "I hope I die before I get old," by The Who and My Generation. If you haven't heard it, either listen to it or kill yourself. I mean, but it's nerve-wracking to know that the world is more or less in imminent danger. And you want to have a kid? You want to have a child? That's scary. But the name of this article is just, it's on Time magazine, which nobody reads, right? More or less, nobody cares. It's only 99 cents to subscribe, so motherfuckers ain't reading. I'm not subscribed, but it's called, the article is titled, "Raising Kids When the World is Ending." Now that is a very creative title. And it's basically, it's not like this article it's not a how-to guide. Like, all right, which it should be, right? Which it should be. There's a couple how-tos that you could do for your children, start them off early. How to suture a wound, right? As a child, you get them a nice little suture kit. You give them a little piece of flesh, like a melon or something, and you show them. You teach them. You say, here's the benzoethanol, and you put it on a swab, and you clean out the wound, and then you hit it with the suture. You got to teach them different kinds of medical procedures. You got to teach them the chemical makeup of certain. That's what homeschooling will turn into. Homeschooling won't be about math or history or science or anything. Well, there'll be science, but not in the same capacity that we're talking about now. And maybe there will be those same subjects, but they'll be taught differently. Like math and science class will be learning how to make your own medicine when you've run out, understanding the chemical makeup of different kinds of pharmaceuticals so that you can recreate them. Having enough, those science kits will be much different for children. Those first child science. History will be a different class. History and English will be different classes. It'll be, learning the routes to high ground, right? Understanding what past generals did to keep their men, keep their morale up. Understanding how, and health class will be different, right? Knowing what foods to eat and when, the scarcity of foods, the being able to collect rainwater. These are things. This is a how-to on how to raise children. Understand them. Understand that that you need a bug-out location. A bug-out location meaning that when the world does, when there's some real possibilities that the world is ending, it's a location that you can go to. Finance class will be different. It'll be on the barter system, right? It'll be all this. This is a real how-to. We're gonna have an episode, maybe next week, on how to prepare kids for the end. I'm gonna write that down. How to prepare kids for the end. That's what we'll call it. Next week we're gonna do that. So tune in for that. That's going to be a lot of fun. But what this article is basically talking about is raising kids when the world is ending. It's it's very much this. The author is very scared of of life's mystery being permanently lost. They're very scared of that technology has basically whisked the kids away because in the article, it mentions that, when he was a kid, or when I think it was a he, Teddy Wayne, I think his name is? Yeah, Teddy Wayne. When Teddy Wayne was a child in the 80s, things were very similar to now, right? The Cold War was going on, so there was a lot of nuclear threat there. Reagan was the president, which is very similar to Trump. Right, and there was plenty of cartoons, and there was commercials, and the whole thing, and there were ways to keep kids occupied when parents didn't want to play with them or read with them or teach them anything. Go watch a fucking cartoon and leave me the fuck alone so I can go talk about how much I can't fuck your mother, okay? So I can go smoke cigarettes out in the back, drink Pabst Blue Ribbon with the boys, overcook everyone's dinner while you guys are in the house, while the wife is talking on the cordless phone for hours and hours, racking up the bill. You can go watch Scooby fucking Doo while I sit in the backyard and talk about how shitty my life is, right? That's what basically this guy was saying about the 80s, and that it's not much different than it is now, other than the fact that it's harder for kids to walk away from the cartoon. It has become much harder for kids to walk away from the cartoon. It's been much harder for kids to not lust over the gizmos and gadgets that are on TV or on YouTube. That's really what it is. It's on YouTube, and they're just suggested. You like dinosaurs? That's the example they used. You like dinosaurs? Here's a dinosaur video. Here's another dinosaur video. Hey, wait, here's a dinosaur video. Wait, in between the dinosaur video, you want to go to McDonald's, right? So it's harder and harder to get away from that. And this person is most worried about life's mystery being gone, right? I wrote down the quote. It said, "Life's mystery is permanently gone." That's what they're worried about. I don't know if that's true, guys. I mean, there's a ton of mysteries that could still, that a child is still susceptible to think about, right? Like, will I get murdered in my third grade music class? When the teacher is passing out the instruments that we can play with, and this week I got the bongo drums that I put in between my knees, will a man with a gun come in and start killing people? Right? That's a mystery. That's a mystery. How long before China invades Taiwan? right? That is a childlike mystery. What I think this person's actually scared about is the fact that children are they don't spend enough time in their own heads. They don't spend enough time thinking about things on their own. All they do is try to negate their thoughts with constant consumption. Constant consumption. Phone, TV, YouTube, iPad, just all the time. And if they're not doing that, then they need something. They need something. It's not like they can play and then sit down, play, read a book. You know, it's and playing isn't really a thing, right? Going outside. But that's because these kids know. These kids know. I mean, that's what they're being groomed for. Outside is going to not be a thing for a while. You know, and these kids are going to be ahead of the curve. We're going to be like, damn, I miss outside. They're going to be like, shit, we don't know nothing about outside. They're going to be 40-year-olds. They're going to be like, shit, what the fuck is outside? Outside? That shit's old. Fuck outside. They're not even going to know. There's another life's mystery. Will I be able to go outside? You know? Will I be able to go down to the creek and fish? Kids don't do that anymore. They don't even think about that anymore. They don't think about it, but it is a life's mystery, you know? It is. There's plenty of life's mysteries for children to ponder, because that's what I was doing as a child. You know, I was, well, I tried to be sarcastic there, but it's true. I do get what this guy's saying. I get what he's saying, that, you know, kids aren't curious, but it's a new realm for them to be curious about, huh? How about that? It is a new, unhinged realm known as the internet that kids can be curious on. If they're curious about what it's like to see, sex, much easier now than it was when I was a kid. When I was a kid, you could still do it, but you had to cover all your bases. You know, you had to cover all your bases because you were nervous that your parents would still your parents would get upset with you. Now, parents wouldn't get upset about that. Parents are excited that you're jerking off. You know, parents are happy that you want to see a 90-pound-year-old girl get gangbanged by 30 guys that are over, 250 pounds. They're excited that you have that kind of culture, you know, and they're ready for you to make it happen. Now, I can see the apprehension behind having your children playing on phones and doing all this stuff. And there's a pretty simple solution to that. There's a fairly simple solution to that. One that may be a little extreme, but it's one that should work. It should work. Maybe, just maybe if you lived by example as a parent. Interesting. That's the thing that's scary, right? That's the thing that's scary as a parent. You don't want your kid to turn out a certain way, but the way that they're going to turn out is the way that you project, right? If all you do is play on your fucking phone while your kid is running around or whatever, obviously, eventually they're going to be like, can I see what the fuck is on that phone? What are you doing? Like, what are you doing on that phone? But if you're always sitting there with a book, right? That's something that you can be happy that your kid is wanting to engage in, right? There's not, and there's a little bit more control with a book. You buy a book and it's about one thing, or it's about a certain kind of a genre of things, right? You can get a book like I have over there, The Origins of a Journey, where it talks about a bunch of different journeys, right? But it's about journeys. You get what I'm saying? It's not like you can go from watching dinosaurs and then watching, a woman blow herself up in a mosque, like you can on the internet. Living by example is one of the most important things that you can do as an adult or as a parent, right? Because kids mimic. All they do is mimic, right? All they do is mimic. If you're an asshole as a dad, your kid's going to be an asshole in school, okay? Trust me. I know, all right? I know the intricacies of what can happen if you mimic your family, right? You mimic your family. Now, Something else that you can do as a parent to make sure that they turn out okay is be an absent parent, right? Don't pay any attention to them. Let them go and just let them roam free all the time. You give them a curfew. If they break it, who cares, right? You let them run amok. Give them the internet. Let them, don't bar anything. Buy all the HBOs and the porn the porn stations. Buy it all. Make sure and let the kid, just let him go. Let the child go in the way that the world will allow it. Okay? Let it go. And there can't be anything wrong, right? There would be nothing. Just be an absent parent, because then you can't blame it on yourself if the kid ends up fucked up. You're like, hey, I was barely there. Okay? I barely paid attention. So it's not my fault. It's the kid. The kid who should know better went ahead and watched videos, hours. This child spent his formative years watching videos of little animals getting murdered by humans. Okay? Not like nature, which isn't, that's not as bad, but by humans. Humans capturing and experimenting on little animals. That's what my child watched. Okay? That's not my fault. It's not my fault. And then you live the rest of your life as an absentee parent. Why not? Kid's 40. He's trying to reach out to his dad. You don't answer. You say, you're there. You're there. He has your number, Or you answer and it's real topical. How's work? Did what'd you do this weekend? And then as soon as he brings something up about, Dad, you were never there for me. Well, I don't know anything about that. But listen, I gotta get out of here. Me and your mom are gonna go. We're gonna go swing. We're gonna go swing. I'm gonna go fuck the neighbor lady while she gets deep dick by her husband. So I'll talk to you later, son. Thanks. Hopefully you figure it out in this life. Hopefully you figure out what you're supposed to be doing. But I'll talk to you soon. See ya. That's probably a good way to raise a kid when the world's ending. And then, I guess you could say the best way to raise a kid when the world is ending is get him into child acting. They'll get to their psycho arc, right? Probably at a good time, right? 20 years from now, we'll be halfway to the end, so you can ride out the mayhem at its peak. You can ride out the mayhem at its peak, which is, I think this might be the perfect time to start your kid in child acting. It is. It has to be. And then maybe if they live, they will be able to write a memoir titled, I'm Glad My Mom Died. Hey, that's best case. That's best case in my opinion. Now, guys, I've been on here and, I talk about work and I talk about jobs and I don't love my work. I know I said that I was going to be moving to Trump Burger, possibly either Trump Burger or building the highway that's going through the Amazon. I don't remember what episode that was, but check it out if you haven't. Just a couple episodes ago. Listen to all of them. What the fuck? Listen to every single episode. This is episode 222. God damn, 222. That's good luck right there. Not really, but who knows? There's I have a problem with jobs. I don't like having a boss. I don't like having a place that I have to be in a certain time and all these things. But I found an ad for a job. An ad list, actually. There's a whole list of jobs that, but the main one is, it sounds like a lot of fun, right? It sounds like a whole lot of fun. And you get to live on the Maldives, on an island in the Maldives, which is a beautiful place. Beautiful, tropical fucking island. You get to live there for free, and you run a bookstore on the resort. this is a real thing. You guys can look this up. I don't know if they filled the position yet, but they were looking for somebody that is willing to do this. $750 a month is what you get paid, which is nothing, right? But in the Maldives, it's not bad. And you live for free. You live on an island for free. You work alone. You work in a bookstore. You walk around in barefoot, right? You hang out. And that sounds like a good job. That's a job I think I could do. I don't have to worry about anybody. The only people that are coming to a bookstore on an island like that are vagrants, are lonely people who just have money, didn't really do much in life. They're not going to bother me, is my point. They're going to come in, they're going to look for a book, they're going to, I'll ring them out, they get the fuck out of there. Go walk on the nice white sand. Sounds like a good job. Now, they had a few other jobs listed. So and you have to be willing to travel, guys, which I am. I've already expressed that I am willing to travel, and some of these jobs sound better than others. But the next one that they have listed is a grave digger in Kyiv. Grave digger in Kyiv. You get 3 square meals a day. Not the biggest meals, right? They're not huge. We are rationing here. You get to live in a bunker under the guise that you're an American diplomat, right? Everyone in the bunker thinks you're there to save them, but in the daytime, all you're doing is digging their graves for them. That's really it. You're employed by Kyiv. It's a union job. It's a union job. It's a state job. You get real good benefits. You get paid, enough. You get paid enough. I don't know if it's $750 a month, but it does say you get paid enough and you should be fine. And the rations, you get more than enough. You get double the rations, actually, from everyone else. So people will actually villainize you. And they'll wonder why you're getting these rations. And it's like, well, you guys decided to take me in. I'm the American diplomat. If you guys want to make it, out of this alive, then you'll give me all your food. Again, it doesn't sound like a bad deal. Doesn't sound like a bad deal to me. The next one is lithium extractor in the Middle East. Now, this is a job that's, it's got kind of a double-edged sword, but will be, you get to live out there in various locations. It's more of a camping kind of deal, like a smoke jump. The guys who have to fly in and they camp out in the wildfires so that they can put them out. Smoke jumps. They don't get paid much money. This one, you'll get paid a lot of money. This one's the highest paid. You get paid tons of money for extracting lithium out of various regions of the Middle East. And you're basically doing God's work in that you're helping the environment because that lithium will go to 2 very important sources. One, batteries. We need electric batteries to save the planet. We need to save the planet. We need to reduce emissions. So what we're going to do is dig up the ground, pull out the lithium, extract it, and make some batteries. Get some batteries rolling for us to save the planet. We got to save the planet. Rip the minerals out of the ground, save the planet. And 2, we need to get that lithium to kids who aren't paying attention in schools. They need to pay attention in school. So, they're going to be the ones, they're our future. Those kids are our future, guys. We need to get these metals out of the ground and get them in their bodies ASAP if we want them to be attentive students, especially with the new homeschooling curriculum that'll be coming along. So far we have bookshop in the Maldives on an island, not bad. Gravedigger in Kyiv, lithium extractor in the Middle East. Food reviewer in Chicago. Now, this one's a lot more. This is a labor of love, right? Arguably the most important out of this whole deal, right? Because we got to know if we're in Chicago. We got to know where the top food spots are, right? And you'll get sponsorships and the whole. It's a little bit. You get 1099, right, on the taxes, so you're gonna owe a little bit more. But you get you get to go around beautiful Chicago, the South Side, different parts. Good and bad. You go to both. We can't be biased here. Food reviewer in Chicago. Next, we have blade dealer in London, a booming market. because it's very hard to get guns in those countries. It happens, but it's very hard to get guns. Blades are a lot more, they're easier, they're trendy. People want blades. A lot of people don't want guns. You get caught with a gun in London, you're fucked. You know, you get caught with a gun in some of these in European countries and you're ruined. You got a blade, though, you know, it's great. I know you're thinking, I want to differentiate myself in the market. I want to do the guns. I want to be an arms dealer. But it's tough. It's a tough market, guys. And those jobs aren't easy to come by. Those are like union jobs. Hard to get fired from. A lot of benefits. But, you know, blade dealer is good. Blade dealer is good. You'll make an honest living. And you'll be okay. And the last one, of course, perfect one to round this episode out for. They're hosting auditions for child actors on Little St. James. Now that one, very similar to the bookstore in the Maldives. The only thing is you do have to be a child. I'm sure there's not many children listening to the show, but I'm sure there's parents. I'm sure there's uncles and aunts that want the best for their family member. They see the twinkle in their eyes. And there's a huge casting call out on Little St. James, which was just sold to Nickelodeon. Just sold to Nickelodeon because they're going to do a show over there, and they need some child actors. So people want to say there's no work, there's no fun jobs, there's none of this shit. They want some fulfilling work. Right here, guys, we have run a bookstore on an island in the Maldives. Gravedigger in Kyiv, lithium extractor in the Middle East, food reviewer in Chicago, blade dealer in London, child actor for Nickelodeon on Little St. James. That's 6 jobs right there, guys. 6 jobs. And that 6th job, you can be a manager if you're the adult. You can rake in the money. You get what I'm saying? Guys, I mean, it doesn't get much better than this. Thank you guys for listening to me this Thursday. Thank you guys. Very much so. We like to have fun. We're having a great time. End of the month, we're doing a Portland, Maine Comedy Festival. End of the month, 25th to the 28th, doing 2 shows, possibly 3. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think that's it, guys. That's it. Thank you guys for playing along yet again. And we're at the end of the fucking episode. Peace. Hey, I'm back to reiterate all the stuff that I said at the top of the show. Follow and subscribe. Bye-bye.